this is Jimmy Jive, and you're listening to Motor City Rock Talk. Today, I'm going to be talking to a guitarist / lead vocalist for a pretty exciting throwback type of band, the 90s grunge thing, with a newer twist. It's not typical 90s grunge. It's a little bit more modernized, and it's got some really cool hooks, some great songs. To date, they've got one EP with 2 songs, self-titled, called Aqua Monkey, and they put out a live album, which I thought was kind of cool, called Live at Vista Studios. Their latest single is called Missing Magic. The band is Aqua Monkey, and tonight I'll be speaking to Dan Morganroth. Hey, Dan, how you doing, man?
Hey there, how are you?
I'm good. All right, let's start with a little background. Tell me a little bit about where you're from originally and maybe some of the earliest musical influences that got you into playing guitar or getting into rock and roll.
Yeah, I was born in Warren, Michigan. I live in St. Clair Shores now, so I didn't really go too far. Musical background, it really stems from early childhood. My mom used to listen to the Beatles, Prince, a lot of 80s kind of new wave music. Those were the early runnings. That's kind of what triggered my whole interest in music and guitar, and listening to Prince was one of my childhood favorites growing up. So going into, I would say, high school when grunge came out, it kind of dates me right now. So grunge comes out, and it's just this big sound, and it's so different from the 80s genre. And I was totally grabbed by the raw talent and the raw vocals, the raw guitar, and it didn't sound like it was overly mixed like the synth of 80s rock. So grunge really grabbed me. So I think in high school, it really motivated me to write in that style. Now, backing up, Dave Matthews Band was coming out at around the same time. So obviously not grunge, but his guitar style really interested me. And that was different from grunge because it was more power chords. And then Dave's playing these intricate note by note kind of chords, which grabbed me. So I, in high school, said, you know what, towards the end of high school, so I'm going to buy a guitar and I'm going to play like Dave Matthews. So I picked it up and I said, you know what, I'm going to teach myself. So it took me about a year. Granted, I probably was in my bedroom about 2-3 hours a day, along with college studies. I would study and then play guitar in between, and, learning theory and then learning those songs kind of shaped what I wanted to do.
That's really cool. I wouldn't have, from hearing the recordings of the band here, really hear anything as far as Dave Matthews, but any kind of influence like that, especially from that time, is all good. Now, the music you guys play is very exciting. It's very hook-oriented and stuff. And the thing I was going to say that I really think is awesome, which kind of is a throwback to the 90s thing, you guys are honest about your simplicity. In other words, what I mean by it is you're not trying to be something that you're not. It's obvious this is what you guys enjoy to play, and it's coming off naturally. Now, the thing I was going to ask you about, first of all, about the band was the songs that I've heard, there isn't really that much out other than that, live album, which is incredible, by the way.
Thank you.
The first EP, the songs, and I think this is awesome because I'm a former bass player, is very bass heavy. It tends to have a really good, strong bass sound. Not only that, the type of bass sound I like. My question is this. I've seen some of your videos of you guys like rehearsing in the basement, and I see a guy there's a keyboard there. I see a guy playing a keyboard, and in one of the songs, it looked like he was coming out also playing bass.
Yeah.
Do you have the guy that plays, bass along with your bass player?
We have 2 bass. Yeah. We, when we formed the band, we were a 3-piece originally. And over, a couple of years with changes and modifications in our style, we added 2 more members to the band, which was a drummer. And my original drummer is just a super crafty lead guitarist. So, so he went to guitar, and we decided let's keep 2 bass players. One generally focus on lead slap style, and the other one would be focusing on that deep undertone. So that's where we get that big sound with the bass driven music.
That's awesome. But the thing I saw there was, like I said, he's got keyboards. I don't hear any keyboards keyboards in any of the songs that you've gotten recorded. Is it there and I'm just missing it?
No, you're not. So the live recording was the 3-piece band, and that was done before we became the 5.
Okay.
So that was very raw. It was done all live, no overdubs, nothing like that. So we did that in the studio in one day, got it done. And then this Missing Magic, the single we just released, is a 5-piece, but we have the double bass part on that.
And no keyboards on that?
No keys on those. He plays keys on other songs that we do, but we are in the process of recording a couple more. We're going to release one in the next month, and we're recording another song. So there's going to be some keys in that.
That's awesome. I saw that. I'm like going, is this guy playing bass also? I'm like, you don't see that. And I wondered how, like I said, he wouldn't have been playing with you on that original EP, right? That was the 3 of you?
The original live recording was the 3 of us. Missing Magic, that single was the 5-piece.
No, the first one that was just Aqua Monkey that had 2 songs.
Oh, that was the 3-piece, yep.
Did you guys purposely boost his bass? Because on that, like I said, it's very bass heavy, which I think is really cool. It carries it. I love that type of sound. That's incredible.
Yeah, and then we pushed those early recordings there were some overdubs in there, so there's some layering effects in there.
Sure.
So that was more studio type bass recordings, where what we're doing now is recording everything live, essentially get overdub leads and overdub the vocals.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. Now, as far as, like you said, you got to have some new songs that you were going to release. Are you hoping down the line to put out an actual full album with these songs and use them as teasers for that?
I haven't really decided yet, but what I'm learning from social media and other artists that are doing this is they're just releasing a ton of singles. And I'm just going by that guidance. Now, eventually, once we have a collection, I would say, let's probably put an 8 or 10 track or LP out there and go with it. And some of these songs that we've released as singles would be on there. But the way everything is marketed today, it's so different than I was growing up.
Now, the one question I had for you and all that, this might be an odd question. The name of the band being Aqua Monkey, who came up with that? And is there any backline or story behind that?
Not especially. We were throwing different names around when we were kind of forming this, and there was so many different band names we had, and one of them was Aqua Box, which my guitarist Brad, he wanted to name it Aqua Box, and it's like eventually we just put everything together, and one of them was just like, well, okay, we'll just go with Aqua Monkey, because one of them was something monkey, and the other one was box. Let's do that. Let's do Aqua something else, and it just came together. Let's just combine it and say Aqua Monkey. There's really not a very interesting story behind it, unfortunately.
No deeper meaning. And the only reason I really bring that up is I had mentioned, that I was doing this interview to a buddy of mine, and as soon as I mentioned the name of the band, he kind of sat back there and thought, Aqua Monkey. I wonder if they're evolutionists. Do you know what I'm saying? We come from the water, we become monkeys, and then we evolve. That's what he took from it. And I said, well, I don't think they're really, from the photos I've seen of your, blue monkey and all that, it doesn't look like it. It's more tongue-in-cheek, but it was just interesting. That's why I was wondering if there was any deep thought as far as that.
You know what's funny about that? You say I come from the water. There was a song by the Toadies in the 90s, I Come From the Water. It was essentially about that, which was, it's really, really cool. Really good song.
Now, you guys have been together basically then since when? How long has the band actually been, as far as the 3-piece and developing into the 5-piece? How long has the band been together? 2019,
we started the 3-piece, and it was actually just more or less a couple. It was probably 3 or 4 guys that came over to jam. I was already in a band at that time, so I had no commitment or anything. It was just like, all right, let's get together. And then we got together, and they're much younger than me. They're a good 15 years younger. So, they were jamming to mostly 90s alternative hits. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. Being the elder, I was like, well, you guys kind of fit the genre I like. Let's come up with a few covered songs. And then, that day we instantly played 3 cover songs, and it was was a good feeling. It seemed to go well. The guys are super cool. We got along great. We started chatting, and then the band I was in, we ended up playing one of the venues, and I'm like, well, why don't we have my new band, we'll play like 8 songs and we'll just open up for us.
Wow, okay.
And that's essentially how it happened. And then, my other band kind of fizzled away over time. And then, we went full bore with Aqua Monkey over the course of the years. 2020 was a big hit, obviously, for COVID and shutting down the world, essentially. Yeah. So during that time, we were thinking, what are we going to do? And then the summer of 2020, we actually started playing on the porch, which we turned into this big porch concert thing that through St. Clair Shores, we started a Facebook group, and now we have, several thousand members, and we have porch concerts every summer, 2 to 3 times a month, and we have food truck, and we have bands that open for us, and we're networking with other bands, and we're meeting just a ton of people doing what we're doing, and we're doing a lot of charity work too, which, draws people and draws attention. So, it's kind of what our focus was, just to network, let people come out and see us for free. Let's feed them, and let's play music and see how it goes. And it was just the perfect time because everybody wanted to be outside and listen to music because there was nothing else, right?
Yeah, I'm familiar with that concert series you're talking about.
Oh, great.
I've seen videos of it. And I think it was a brilliant idea, not just because of the COVID thing, but just in general, outdoors, like you said, it's free. People get it. It's good exposure for the bands. It's just a good way to bring attention to your stuff. Now, as far as these releases, like I said, that I heard on Spotify, are any of these available, like the live thing, and like a physical copy, a CD or anything like that? Did you guys do anything of that nature? Are you planning to at all?
It depends on how it goes. My ultimate goal I'd like to press vinyl. I mean, I'm a vinyl junkie, and I have several thousand LPs in my house, and that's my passion. So that's kind of where I want to head with that. And I've been to several venues that artists nationally are touring, small venues around here, and they're always selling vinyl. So that's kind of what I wanted to do. CDs, I don't see it. Right. I don't see it being very popular until it becomes popular again, right? So right now the focus would be just, everything on streaming. And then if we get a little more capital, I would say press some more vinyl.
When you talk about vinyl and what you're doing here, would you be talking about 45s as far as vinyl releases, or are you talking about an album?
Yeah, if we're going to do vinyl, I'm going to do an LP, which I would essentially want 8 or 10 tracks on it.
Right. Now, I also noticed on your Facebook page for the band that you guys have played pretty much everywhere. Are you guys still out playing consistently right now?
Yeah, we're playing probably, I'd say about once a week, maybe every other week. I've always said I will play anywhere, anytime. Play bowling alleys, VFW halls, bigger concert venues, private parties, porches. We love to play. And that's always said, where there's not much money in this game if you're not, a mega star. So don't focus on making money, focus on having a good time and try to gather a foul.
Got to be about the music first, because, your audience is going to know that. From the videos I've seen of you live and all that, you guys are very natural up there. You got a good stage presence. None of it seems forced, in other words. And that kind of honesty will come through with your audience eventually as they get to know you. Now, as far as any of these singles, obviously being on Spotify, have you tried to promote any of this stuff to like college radio or internet radio?
My manager is very aggressive about getting our name out there, contacting whoever she can do. Good point that you make is college is huge. And when I was in college, Dave Matthews was it was like Beatlemania at that time.
Sure.
So, everybody in college were looking for whatever they could get their hands on, whether it was a bootleg or copy, because there was no streaming back then.
Right.
So we were trying to figure out wherever we could get a physical copy possible.
Yeah. And they're also more apt to be listening to something new like this, whether it's throwback style, it doesn't matter. Like I said in the intro, I can hear a little grunge, but I can hear a lot more than that. A couple of songs, and you probably haven't heard anybody say this, I wouldn't assume, remind me a little bit of the Black Crowes.
I have not heard that, but that's an influence of mine. So, it's all about what makes you feel good. Now, it doesn't have to be a heavy Nirvana type grunge sound. To me, it's if I like it, if I want to listen to it and it grabs me, and it's all about the hook for me. If it pulls you back into that song and you're waiting for the next hook, that's how I write. And I want to make sure that I have that big hook and a big sound during that.
Right.
I want it to fill the room.
As far as the writing, you're one of the guitarists and you're the vocalist. Do you do most of the writing then, or is it a collaborative thing with the band?
I write all the melodies and the lyrics, and then we get together and add the lead, the drums, and then if we need to change structure, we will, depending on how it feels. But yeah, I write everything.
Now, as far as these songs, there again, have you done anything else with them as far as like, are you planning to maybe make videos with any of these or make videos of anything in the future? People can make videos on their phone. I don't mean live, things like that, but actually like a concept video or something around the song. Have you thought of doing that, or is that something in the future?
Yeah, I just had a conversation yesterday to my friend's a videographer, and we're going to shoot. So we're recording our new song on February 8th, and then we're hoping to have that done within, a month or two, and then start shooting the video. So we're planning on shooting the video in April. I would say no later than April, May. And then depending on how long that takes, and we're going to work on a script for it. He's already got the idea what the song's about, and then how we want to portray that in theatrical world.
Right.
It's very preliminary, but I would say by summertime we're going to have a music video. Yeah.
The other thing I was going to suggest, or maybe ask you about, as far as doing that, this monkey kind of mascot photo, or whatever you want to call it. That would be cool as far as a video too, to have him in there somewhere. Animation is big. Incorporate that in it. I'm not talking about making a full anime video, but how they can incorporate that in it. Maybe if you guys are playing, the monkey's running around behind you or something like that. That might be something interesting that would stick out.
It's definitely up for consideration. I take any ideas very, very strongly.
Now, tell me who the name of the members of the band are and, what they play.
So we have Brad Fuller. He was the former drummer, now guitarist. Tom Klarick, he's the bass / keyboardist, who's the original member. The new guys that joined are John Sparks is the bass player, and then Jim Olsen, he's the drummer. Full-time drummer now, so the 5-piece band, that's it. And then again, Tom is switching between bass and keys.
Let me ask you, there again, getting back to the bass sound and all that. How did those guys react as far as this? You originally had one bass player, now you got another guy that plays bass and keyboard. What was their reaction to using two bass players?
Well, so the backstory is that we formed two bands, and over the course of that, we made some changes in the band. But ultimately, when we formed the two bands, it was like, well, what do we do here, right? Because we have two bass players. We were just thinking, it's like, well, Tom's more of that lead type slap bassist. Right. Why don't we use that and have John play more of the melody? And that's kind of how it blended together. And then Tom started playing more keys because we do our own rendition of In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins.
Yeah, I saw that. That's cool.
He plays the keys on that, and it's that, very, melodramatic type key line. So it was like, well, we're bouncing back and forth. It's not going to be, people are going to say, well, why do you have two bass players? Well, because it kind of sounds cool to us, and, we're bouncing back with different instruments too. So we just said, what, let's just go with it, and people like it. If they don't, we're just going to keep moving forward, and we're going to do us.
Yeah, you should do you. And like I said, it's a very unique idea, and it works. To me, it really works. I really dig that idea and all that. All right, you just mentioned, doing the Phil Collins song, and like I say, I saw the video. Now, when you guys perform out live, what kind of balance between originals and covers are you doing at this point?
It all depends on the venue. So certain venues is strictly originals. So depending on the night, we'll generally play 20 to 25 songs originals, and that's about a 2-hour set. And then if we're playing a bar where we're kind of hired by the bar to play, I would say we're doing 50-50.
Oh, okay. All right. To me, that's interesting when you say hired by a bar and you have to play 50-50. Are you just kind of like just trying to get out there then? You're not being overly selective on the places you play at this point?
Honestly, I've never been super selective. I always said any opportunity that comes along, you take it. If it's great, it's great. If it's not, it's not. So, you never know who's going to be in that crowd watching. I said, there are bowlers that like music too, so I'll play in a bowling alley, right?
It is a band basically based out of, where did you say you were at again? St. Clair Shores, is it?
St. Clair Shores, yep.
Is the band based out of that? Is everybody pretty much in that area?
No, actually, I'm probably, the closest one is the drummer, who's probably about 5-6 miles away. And the rest of them live probably 10 to 15 miles north of me.
Okay, well, that's not that far.
No.
Your rehearsal space, is that your place?
Yeah, it's my basement.
What are some of the venues you played in, and what have been some of the bigger venues that you might have played at?
The place we like to play right now the most is Diesel Concert Lounge, which is in Chesterfield. So I would say we're kind of regulars there. We probably play once a month or every other 3 months, just to kind of space that one out. Mm-hmm. We love playing there. I've known the owner for probably 20 years now, and he's just a good guy. He's in bands that have traveled around, and he runs just a really nice venue. And I've gotten to know the people that run the stage and run the crew there, so they're just good people. Love it there. Other venues, we like to do anything that's outdoors in the warm weather.
Are you the only one that sings in the band, or do the other guys do any backup vocals, or are you doing all the vocals?
I do, I would say 99% of the vocals, and there are a few tracks that we do that have a harmony part to it. And John, the other bass player, sings the high harmonies, and that's essentially what we got going on.
Now, is that because the other guys don't sing at all, or is that just the way you want to do it?
It's just, I would say, more experience with that. Once I can get John more in that realm of doing more harmonies, singing those parts. Again, we've been so busy since we're getting more gigs and gigs. We're having a hard time finding practice time now. So, and I'm not complaining about that. That's never a bad thing, right? So once we have some downtime, I would say, we're focused on adding some more harmony parts, but we have not had the time.
No, I understand. It definitely takes time and work on it. Yeah. All right, the last thing I want to ask you about, getting back to the cover songs, like you said, you did Phil Collins. What are some of the other covers that you guys do?
We do our own version of Stand By Me by Benny King.
Oh, wow.
That song. If you listen to our version, you wouldn't even recognize it. So it's very dark and melancholy. So we kind of I went with that approach. But we do Nirvana, we do Stone Temple Pilots, Soundgarden, Bush, those types of 90s stuff. We do Huey Lewis and the News, we do the Beatles. Wow. So we do a general, if we're playing in a bar setting, we're going to throw, 60s, 70s, 80s at you too.
All right, Dan, I'm going to let you go. I really appreciate talking to you. It's really interesting to hear about your band. The music I've heard so far, it's very, really good. I don't consider it myself. I don't consider it grunge in any way. I think it's a bit beyond that. I like the hook-oriented aspect of it. You're a very good singer. It fits in really well with what you're doing. And just continue to do what you do and keep it real.
You know what? I will, and I honestly appreciate your time. I appreciate your interest in our music. That that is one thing that fuels the fire for me is when people appreciate music and yourself being a musician and seeing what other people can do is something that really drives me. So thank you.
You bet. All right, Daniel. Like I said, I'll let you go. Have a good night, brother.
All right, you too. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, that was Daniel Morganroth, guitarist, lead vocalist for the band Aqua. Very interesting band. Some people want to say they're kind of a throwback to the 90s grunge. Yeah, maybe a little bit, but I think they're a bit beyond that. The songwriting is really good. Like I mentioned, they have two bass players. It may not play together all the time, but the thickness of the bass tone, being a former bass player and all that, really it entices me and excites me. I like that, especially the tonality that they use in it. They're all really good musicians. They're playing some good material. I wish them the best. I hope they continue to write more stuff, and I'm going to be definitely keeping an eye on these guys. And hopefully when the weather gets warmer, come the spring or summer, I can get out and see them. Hey, is that old stereo system of yours still giving to the blues? Maybe the receiver has a blown channel, or the turntable just doesn't work right. Well, then you should visit my friends at 7 Grand Audio Service. They've been in business for over 40 years, located at 25642 7 Mile Road. The owner, Dash, and his assistant, Harry, can fix just about anything. Old or new, it doesn't matter. Receivers, tape decks, turntables, EQs, power amps, and yes, guitar and bass amp. The phone number over there is 313-533-3635. You're open Monday through Friday, 10 to 6. If you have any kind of stereo issues whatsoever, or electronics, like I said, old or new, it doesn't matter. They can do it. Check them out and let them know Jimmy sent you. Anyway, with that being said, as I like to say, keep rocking.
This is mine, antibody, and it's not for everybody. This is mine, antibody, and it's not for everybody.